Hello, here we are back again, and now it is June, and it is hot outside. I don't know about for you guys, but it is warm. And this has been a really interesting time, isn't it? We're staying home, parents, your mom or dad might be working from home, you might be seeing your preschool friends on a Zoom talk. Well, and I don't know about you all, but yesterday there was a big storm. Today's Thursday. Yesterday was that big storm that came through, and a lot of trees came down. And do you know there's a lot of people that have no electricity? It sure is unusual to have no electricity right now. And we're like that. And we won't have it until tomorrow night, late. And some people won't have it all weekend long. So we're fortunate, and we're glad that we still have a safe home and everything. But this is a stories that we will have to tell people later. Oh, do you remember when during this time and we did this and that, and we're going to probably be able to laugh about it, and God is going to teach us really good lessons through it too. Maybe it's the lesson of patience, or just relaxing and enjoying the day. We don't know. So I want to take us back in a little bit to review. And here's a poster that I haven't shown yet, but it is a poster that is giving what this whole summer we'll be talking about in Sunday school. All right? And the thing that we are doing is we're remembering that even in the Old Testament, there are things that remind us and teach us about Jesus and who Jesus is born. And a lot of this are all of the great, I can't even say how many great grandparents of Jesus. So remember, I'm just going to fold this. Remember we talked about Adam and Eve and how they were in the garden, and then how they had to leave the garden because they sinned. And then they had two sons, Cain and Abel. And remember, we talked about how Cain killed his brother Abel because he was jealous. That's sin. That's evil. God did give them another son. And so that son also had kids. So Adam and Eve, and then their son and his wife, they were the great grandparents of Noah. When we talked about Noah, remember, with Noah, there was the flood, and Noah had brought his family and two of all the animals in the world that they of that into an ark, and they stayed there until the land was dry. Can you believe that? See, look, they're floating above the city. Pretty crazy stuff, right? So in this chart, we're being reminded about Noah by the rainbow, because that's what God said. The rainbow shows I'm not gonna cover the earth with floods again. All right, so now we're moving on to this one, and this will be explained by the end of today's story, what that picture is supposed to be. All right, so in that day, people lived, getting a picture, people lived in tents. That's how they lived. You know, here are people saying, hi, how are you? And they lived near their families, and usually they had sheep and goats, and maybe they had gardens and stuff. So there was a man that God was talking to, and his name was Abram, but I'm just going to use Abraham because that's what his name ends up being. So Abraham, God said, you are going to move to a new place. And Abraham didn't know why, but God said, trust me. And so God said, take your servants and your animals, and you're going to travel a distance, And here's a different picture that kind of shows what it would have looked like. See, here they are, all walking. Hopefully you can see that. So it's not just one or two people went walking, but it was a whole group of people, because they were Abraham's wife, Sarah, and they had no children, but their nephew went with them, his brother's son, and other people who worked for them. So it was a lot of people, and they went on a trip. And God said he was picking Abraham to be the father of a very important family. One day in the future, Jesus would come from this family. God told Abraham, I will make you famous. Your children and grandchildren will be as many as the stars in the heaven. They will be as many as the grains of sands on a beach. I don't know if any of you have gone to the beach yet this summer. You won't be able to count all of them. That's a pretty amazing promise, isn't it, that God has made? And God is saying, trust me and obey me. And this is what will happen. So God told Abraham to move to a new place. Did Abraham have a map? Nope. You know, your parents usually, won't they pick up their phone and say, oh, the map says to go here and then there and turn here, and they'll look at the map and then they'll drive. There was no map for Abraham. But God said, I will show you where to stop. And Abraham trusted him. And then they got to a place, and God said, this is it. This is the land where you're supposed to stop. This is your new home, and I will give it to you and everyone who will forever be in your family. That is a really big promise. But do you remember when I mentioned that Abraham and Sarah had no children? So Abraham could have thought, how could it be for my family when I don't have any children and I'm old? But God said that was going to happen. And God said, go on a trip. And just like your parents tell you, we're going to go on a trip, and you trust them, you don't have to worry about where to go. Abraham didn't need to worry about where to go because he could trust God. God had the map for where Abraham was to go. So that's what he was asking of Abraham. Would you trust and obey me? And I will lead you. So here's another picture, and I like this. God had told Abraham, look up in the skies. See all those stars? That's more than that will be the number of children. You and your wife will have a child. That's a pretty wild idea, because they were already older than me. And I wouldn't be able to have any more kids. I had 3, but I wouldn't be able to have any more. And they're a lot older than me. But God said, you wait, and it will happen. And that's what Abraham did. He trusted God. And that's something that we can do during this pandemic when we're staying home, or maybe we'll start to go places in another week or 2. But we're trusting God that he will take care of us and our families. And that's all that God asks us to do. He doesn't expect us to know what's going to happen. He doesn't expect us to do anything, but wait on him. And that is what we're doing. So I hope you all have a good week, and I will look forward to telling you the next lesson in the next segment. All right, bye-bye.